I'm Don with the 912 Pikes Peak Patriots, and as we begin our 8th year, we've done some amazing things as an organization. But now it's time to focus the talents and the passions of our members to not only influence our communities, but change our culture. And today we have Dwan and Shar, organizers for the 912 Project, who are going to give our vision as we move forward in 2016.
I love the story of America's history. It truly is amazing on so many levels. You don't have to be an American to recognize there is something uniquely different about our beginnings. The start and even the purpose for this nation's existence is something that has the hands of providence all over it. And if one truly knows anything about our history, they know that nothing in it happened by chance, is an accident, or coincidental. Beginning with the Puritans who landed in Jamestown in 1607, our early Americans saw their purpose as bigger than themselves, greater than their own personal goals and objectives. Yes, they came here to advance economic, political, and spiritual freedom, but it was never for the sole purpose of bettering themselves and their families. Their goal was the advancement of the glory of God through the virtuous character of his people and the proclamation of the gospel. One may not agree with that, but it is impossible to deny the very words of the Puritans, the Pilgrims, the colonists, and the founding fathers themselves. I started out by saying I love the story of America's history. It's because it's a story of courage, commitment, determination, and sacrifice of those who believed in something so deeply that they were willing to pay any price to see it come to pass. At the core of their beliefs, for many, was the conviction that God had called out this nation for a special purpose, proclaiming him in his goodness, righteousness, love, mercy, forgiveness, grace, and salvation throughout the world. No other nation on earth has ever been as resourced, equipped, and effective to that end as the United States of America. One of the reasons I love this story so much is that I do not believe the story has ended and that God has given up or withdrawn his call for America to continue to fill the world with his glory. I believe both myself and every other American willing to answer that call, as they did in our early history, are being equipped to have an important role to play in the next and very significant chapter of American history. To me, nothing could be more exciting than to think that there are those of us being raised up today to restore and complete what God started way back in our history when the Puritans first landed in Jamestown in 1607. And 912ers, speaking to you directly today as well as friends of 912, we believe, after thoughtful consideration and looking into the future for 912 organization, that this is a vision that we have been given that describes who we are. As a new generation of awakened Americans, endowed with the spirit of the Founding Fathers, we are called through transformation to advance a fresh and expanded vision to be the salt and light required for the restoration of America.
Okay, so before we can take a look at how we're going to move into this vision for the future, we need to take a step back and take a look at how we've come to this place in our culture and in our history. What's caused those things to occur? Here are a few ideas. First and foremost, complacency is one of those things that causes us to be pleased with ourselves, to be self-satisfied. Another one of those things could be passivity. That actually causes a kind of paralysis in people. And then thirdly, mindsets that say we can do whatever we want, there are no consequences, and the truth of the matter is there are always consequences. There are always ripples in the pond from every single thing we've done. And those things have affected and impacted our nation and our culture tremendously over the course of the last 100 years. So that's not an exhaustive list by any means. Our culture is not only broken, but it is in fact being held captive. Culture does come out of the hearts and minds of men. what we think and believe eventually becomes the norm in culture. So as we look forward, and we were doing some research and investigation, we came across some information that kind of defines 3 different types of people that we find in today's culture. The first of which we've decided to call peacekeepers. Those are the kind of people that really don't want to rock the boat. We find many of those people in our churches today. They just believe that they're not to be involved in politics, and they just want to love on people and really stay step back and pure from the influence of social conflict. They really aren't going to be those that are going to be involved in political statements or activism of any kind. The second type of person are warriors. They refuse to compromise for the most part. They're often in warfare mode, and they generally don't trust people. And thirdly, statesmen. They have the wisdom to know what battles to pick to fight. They know when to do things covertly and overtly. And they have wisdom to understand timing, not getting ahead of when the culture and society is ready for a change in new course. So we've come to understand that we really need an amalgam of all 3 of those types of people. We need the wisdom of statesmen, we need the love and caring for people as peacekeepers, and we need the ability to be strategic fighters and do the unpopular thing as warriors. So how do we do this? Well, we ask ourselves, first of all, by asking, what are our passions? What areas of interest set us on fire? What motivates us in the morning to get out of bed and say, I want to do this? Those are the things that we need to discover or rediscover about ourselves. And it's in the process of discovering those passions that we will be able to determine what areas of cultural influence that we're called to, most importantly, impact and change, return to the original intent of the Founding Fathers.
912 is about to celebrate their 7th year in existence, actually completing our 7th year and starting our 8th. And as we look back over the years, there's been many, many things that we've been involved in. However, we've been rather top-heavy in one area, which is the political arena. And I think we've heard, the leaders, the organizers have heard on several different occasions that many people, though they still love their country and they're very concerned about what's happening and they recognize what's going on and they want to be involved, politics is not their thing. They just aren't ones to stand out on the street corners with signs or get involved at a legislative level or whatever. It's not that they don't care, but that's just not their thing. And as we were, again, focusing on the future and looking forward as to the role that 912 can play and how we can be the most effective, we have learned and have studied this whole area of cultural influence and the 7 areas of influence primarily that shape our culture. In other words, people that are the most influential in these 7 areas of culture are the ones that are actually forming and shaping who we are as a nation. And those areas would be education, family, government, religion, media, arts and entertainment, along with sports, as well as business.
So these are the 7 areas of cultural influence that we have determined. And so if in the past you haven't really felt called to be part of the government, the area of government, political involvement, once you've discovered what your area of passion is, there's really no place that a person can't find a place where they fit in and where they belong, where they're called. And so please do take a look at that. Really seek out what you believe your passions are, and you're going to know exactly where you fit in here. As 912 members, we're going to ask each member to look at this and determine what area that they're wanting to operate in based on their passions. And as they determine that, they're going to then begin to look at those people and their families, discuss their passion with those people, neighbors, people in their churches, just like-minded friends, and share that information, basically recruiting and educating those people who are like-minded with the same passions and interests. And from that point, they're going to take it to what we're calling activism, but basically what we're doing is advocating for the original intent of that area of influence. In other words, transforming it back to what it should be about. In whatever area, in whatever way you feel led to do that. In the midst of that area of influence that you're working in, you're going to come into deeper relationship with people, whether it's people in your church or in your community, and that will provide opportunities for you to gain more understanding about people's needs and in different areas that they might need compassion. That's going to allow you to sow seeds of compassion. That's going to allow you to be able to meet the needs of other people. As opposed to the government doing that, it will be those of us that have been called to transform these areas of influence. And finally, we have political involvement. And those are the areas where we will engage in a variety of things, whether it's traditional marriage or the Second Amendment or any number of things where we're all going to be affected by those things that are being changed in the government, and it's going to require all of us to become politically involved at that point. And all of these things are then going to result in communities being developed for the purpose of transforming culture.
Okay, we've given you a lot of information, like water from a fire hydrant. And there's no way you can kind of grasp all of this at one time. It's just an overview, and so don't worry if there's a lot of things you still don't understand, because we recognize that that's probably going to be the case. So all we'd like to do at this point is encourage you, as Shar said, to think about your passion and that which really, really lights you up in terms of things you love to be involved in that you know are influential in terms of this culture. And we'd also like you to think about others that may be like-minded, like you, have similar passions and a heart for things like that you could begin to talk to about being involved in that type of a thing that would actually be turned into something very, very effective and transformational for this country, if that makes sense. Anyway, we are going to be sending out some more information very soon. And so all we were asking you to do now is just think about these things and then be on the lookout for more information as to how you can begin to specifically start to implement these things in your own little sphere of influence that we've been talking about here today. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.